Saturday morning, Samoflange!
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 Saturday morning, Samoflange!
Oh my God, stop.
Welcome, folks, to another edition of Saturday Morning Samoflange. My name is Matt.
And my middle name is Lane.
And I'm Mayor McCheese.
Wow.
Whoa. Did you eat McDonald's on Saturday mornings?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, or else I would not be able to be in the same room with you guys for this podcast.
What does Mayor McCheese say?
I don't know. What does Mayor McCheese say? I just...
Ding, 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 ding. Oh, wait, that's a fox. I'm sorry.
That's a different story altogether.
Folks, welcome back to another episode. We're going to answer some of your questions today. First off, Dak303 asks, in your opinion, what was the best movie adaptation of a book? And that is a great question. It is actually one of our topics we're going to talk about in the future.
It is a good question.
Brian C. had a good question. It says, if you guys had to reboot one of these bad sequels that we mentioned a few weeks ago, which one would you do and why? This is a great question, Brian.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Matt chooses White Fang 2, but I don't know yet. He hasn't pulled back the curtain on his sequel. So.
I will right now.
Will you?
I will do it right now.
For the public and for me.
But you know what? I wouldn't want it to be rebooted. I want it to be destroyed forever.
And that
it
is?
never existed. Christmas Vacation 2.
Well, that's not answering the question.
Stand that. Well, I mean, if you rebooted it, okay, we would reboot Christmas Vacation 2. It would be... modern day Chevy Chase. He's a grandfather now. He'd have all his grandkids and family over.
Okay. Now, isn't that
and it would be a new adventure
story for the new one that's coming out, though?
Yes, but then that we wouldn't have the other Christmas Vacation 2.
The weird thing about Christmas Vacation 2 is that it's a sequel to a sequel, not like a direct sequel to the first one, but it's an off the limb, off the cuff, whatever sequel to a sequel. Dumb. I agree.
So, what would yours be, Mikey?
Well, that's kind of a tough one, really. Obviously, I'm real close to Speed, and I would want Speed 2 to be better, but I can't answer Speed 2.
How would you reboot Speed 2?
I would first put Keanu Reeves in it.
Okay, of course, Keanu Reeves.
So what would happen would be Keanu Reeves and... You know what? I'll just go ahead and say I would reboot Speed 2. Cruise Control. We'd keep the same name because that's kind of cheesy, 90s, awful kind of way. But this time, Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves are married with a baby on a cruise.
Wait, like a little toddler maybe? Or someone old enough to get in trouble?
Let's say a 3-year-old.
Okay.
So that way they can still kind of walk around and maybe kind of go do their own thing. So there could be like a scene or two where, the two newlyweds get a chance to be alone.
Okay.
But this cruise ship is leaving from... kind of a small area in the woods going to Manhattan. And while they're going to Manhattan, Jason Voorhees actually gets on the cruise ship. So, the whole Speed aspect is everybody trying to run away from Jason Patrick. They end up in Times Square, and it's Keanu Reeves as Neo trying to fight Jason Voorhees while Sandra Bullock is trying to run him over in a bus going 50 miles an hour.
And then they find a puzzle cube.
I think someone was on Speed when he came up with this answer. Okay, good. By the way, Mayor McCheese, you look delicious today.
Oh, thank you. Hands off, boys. I don't know. I would love to see a better Ninja Turtles 3, but everybody just keeps rebooting Ninja Turtles. It keeps getting worse and worse. But I think I just remember being so excited about it as a kid and being so let down.
I would take that. I would take Ninja Turtles 3 and reboot that.
Because I love the
Turtles
idea,
in Time,
the concept of them, time traveling. Because I loved the game. Who didn't love the game for Super Nintendo? Ninja Turtles in Time, and then it's kind of them going back to Japan and everything, and it could have worked.
I think you would take away the freckles. You would
absolutely.
You would add more Casey Jones.
More Casey Jones.
You would add the original April O'Neil.
Absolutely.
Do you know she was asked to come back for Turtles 3 and
Yeah.
she didn't?
Best decision of her life.
Yeah, that was a good choice. And more Splinter. Raphael, come away from there.
Yeah. So when we think about that movie, it would have if they would have kept that same type of style that they did the first two in. I could see at that time, most movies do, you want to do something different. It's just they should have stayed the same.
I just think there was a possibility if what I would do is I would do some kind of I would get Spielberg to do Ninja Turtles 3.
Wow.
That's what I would do.
Jeez.
Because if we're time traveling,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
can you
That's
imagine
wild.
like if it had like a kind of a Back to the Future feel? Those
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles, ninja fights.
Okay.
All right.
I see that.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a great question there. The last one here is never understood why people hated Reloaded. Now, to be honest, I had problems with Reloaded. I didn't hate the movie, but I did think some stupid scenes like the rave scene in the cave we talked about a few weeks ago was just totally dumb, totally senseless. The architect at the end, pointless. So there were some scenes that fell flat. Overall, though, I thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah, I mean, hate's a strong word. I like to reserve that for the third one. But the second one, to me, just I can tell you why I didn't like it is because it was, I mean, coming from number one, it's like number two just, I don't know, it just started to really unravel at number two. It was really starting to show the chinks in its armor, you know what I mean?
Right.
And the first one, to me, was in fact better because it was just a more cohesive movie.
Well, the first one is one of the best science fiction movies
It
I've
really
ever
is,
seen in my life.
and it could have just been one, and that's it.
That was the problem. That's the biggest problem with the second one was that it was trying to live up to the first one, and,
That's
and
it,
they had to take this really perfectly constructed story and go somewhere with it, and some of it was a miss. A lot of it for me was a hit, but some of it was a miss, and it was a miss with the public. But I think ultimately that's the biggest downfall with the second one is that it's not the first one. And the hype train on this movie was out of this world.
It was. It really was.
So, like, it was kind of one of those movies that if it wasn't, something like Gone with the Wind or something, uber fantastic, that it just wasn't going to match. It was going to be a letdown.
Yeah, I mean, it was like trying to add on to a picture that's already complete.
Yeah.
But I did love the fight scenes in it. There were redeeming qualities, but I mean, that's in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, we have a wonderful subject to talk about today.
Do we?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a pop quiz for you two.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Yep. Pop quiz.
Okay, all right.
Mikey said that he felt that some of the podcasts were getting a little too scripted, so I decided to come off the cuff and surprise you both with a little quiz.
Yes!
Now, as you see right over there is a full collection of Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah.
You read Calvin and Hobbes growing up.
I still read it to this day.
Still read it to this day. You read Calvin Hobbes?
I'm familiar.
You're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I have a group of questions
Okay.
that I'd like to ask you to
Are they all
test your
Calvin and
knowledge.
Hobbes themed?
They are Calvin and Hobbes
Well, I'm going to
themed.
flunk already. I mean, I know who Calvin and Hobbes are. I've seen a couple.
Okay, then it'll be for
friends.
Mikey then.
I'll try my best.
Now, some of these I knew already. Some of these I didn't. But I'm going to go kind of easy on you first off.
Okay.
And anyone else can play along as well. All they have to do is hit pause right after I ask the question and try to answer it without trying to Google it first.
I'm not going to do that.
Turning this
come
podcast
on.
interactive. I like it.
I mean,
All right.
I would hope that people out there would do that, but they're not.
The name of Calvin's favorite cereal.
Oh, gosh, what is that? Something Pops, isn't it? I don't know. It's something like that.
It's Frosted Coated Sugar Bombs.
Sugar Bombs, that's right. Yeah.
Frosted Covered Sugar Bombs. Okay.
Sugar Bombs.
What was his favorite bedtime story?
Oh, good Lord. I don't remember that one either.
Hamster Huey
That's
and the
right.
Gooey Kablooey.
That's right. Okay.
He kept
all right.
wanting to watch it. What was the name of his club that he and Hobbes were members of up in the treehouse?
Oh, what was it? Like the No Girls Allowed Club or
Very close.
No Girls Admitted?
It was Gross.
Oh, that's right.
Get rid
of slimy Susie?
No, girls.
Yeah,
but
get rid
but
of
the
slimy
S,
girls.
S was on the end of girls.
That's right.
Okay. What was the babysitter's name that came and babysat him?
Oh, what was her name? Gosh, I don't remember.
Rosalind.
Rosalind.
All right, and what was the...
I should have just abstained like CJ. Like he's abstaining, and we're gonna have the same.
What was the teacher's name?
Oh,
Mrs.
Wormwood.
Whoa! He
Yeah,
got one.
Got that one.
What was his sci-fi fantasy name?
Spaceman Spiff.
Boom, he got two.
Yeah.
What was his superhero name? wore a mask and a cape.
Yeah, I know what he looks like. I don't remember that guy's name.
Stupendous Man.
That's right, Stupendous Man. Yeah.
How old was Calvin in the comic strip?
I think 6, right?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
How many is that? 3 he's gotten?
Yeah, 3. He's 3.
I'm
I
impressed.
should have 10.
Let's see.
I need to go read more. Obviously.
What game did he invent? And he always played with Hobbs.
Oh, it was the Oh, what was it? I mean, it's the game. It's like the baseball type game. It was like where they could just make up any type of rule that they wanted. Like
Yep.
But I don't remember the name of.
You don't remember the name of Calvin Ball?
Calvin Ball. That's right. Yeah.
What was the only rule of Calvin Ball?
The first rule of Calvin Ball is that you do not talk about Calvin Ball. The second rule of Calvin Ball is you do not talk about Calvin Ball. No girls allowed, I think.
No, it's actually you cannot play it the same way twice.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It always had to have different rules.
Yeah.
This is wild, but it was in the comic strip a lot. What magazine did he subscribe to?
Maxim.
What kind of comic strip are you reading? Do you remember? It was in the comic strip a lot. I didn't remember he had it that many. Chewing. It was about bubblegum.
Oh, I don't remember that.
And every once in a while he'd talk about the newest
I used
issue
to
of
read
Chewing.
the comics on the Bazooka Chewing Gum.
What was his favorite pair of
Bazooka
underpants?
Ooh, I don't remember that one either.
Rocket ship
Yeah, I don't remember
underpants.
that. Yeah.
And what was something that was always hinted at, like something he got in trouble for? It was called the something incident, but he always claimed, it wasn't him, he was framed, but they never explained what that is. I didn't remember. I didn't know this was a running gag in the strip until I read it all.
I don't know. Every time I think of that, I think spaghetti.
You're very close. It's the noodle
The
incident.
noodle, yeah, okay.
It's the noodle incident, and like Santa Claus, no, that noodle incident. Well, sir, he's claiming here it wasn't him, and everywhere else, like his mom says, well, don't. You want to talk about the noodle incident again, Mom? I'm telling you that wasn't my fault.
I clearly
or whatever.
need to read this some more.
What animal did he pretend to be the most? He pretended to be several animals, but what was his go-to animal?
Like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
You are exactly right. How many is that? 5?
That's 5, right?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm still ashamed of myself.
No. You're doing really good here. Let's see. One last one, and I did not know this. What was his dad's occupation?
He's like dressed like an accountant. Was he an accountant?
No, he was a lawyer. I never knew that. It's mentioned once.
Yeah, I always thought it was
the
something.
comic
I always
strip.
knew it was something legal. I guess just basically because of the way that he dressed and sometimes
Yeah.
the way he talked about, business and that sort of thing. And sometimes when he's sitting at the table doing work, and Calvin will go mess with him, it's usually like graphs or charts. Like I've seen that a couple
Right,
times.
yeah. So
Yeah.
kind of like
Those
that.
are good questions.
And another one, what was his dad's hobby?
Fishing.
Actually, he did like fishing, but he did something more in the comic
Camping?
strip. They did go camping for the first 2 summers of the comic strip,
Yeah.
but he liked to bike.
Oh, that's right.
Be on
yeah,
his bicycle. They
bike
had
too,
a lot of bicycle.
Yeah. I always love
comic
the drawings
strips.
of his dad with his bike helmet on.
Yes.
Because it would be funny looking. Like, he looked like a typical dad. Like, that's what's cool about that comic strip is that, like, somebody from, 50 years ago could read that and they could be like, that would be my dad. And somebody right now could look at that and be like, that would be my dad. Like, the dad is such, a prototypical, stereotypical dad.
Honestly, Calvin lived my childhood, just like we did back in the day, using our imagination, going outside, pretending everything was different, making a game out of everything. It's wonderful. Let me tell you one of my favorite comic strips. It had no words. It was in the Sunday paper, and I didn't remember it growing up, but as I read it, I said, that is the best comic strip. It sums everything up about Calvin and Hobbes. They wake up early in the morning. The next scene is them eating breakfast, and Hobbes is trying to show Calvin something in the newspaper. The next scene is them outside waiting for the bus, and Hobbes has the umbrella and he's holding it for Calvin. And then the next scene is Calvin is on the bus. He has his hand against the window pane saying goodbye to his buddy, and Hobbes is kind of sadly waving at him. Well, then the next scene you see is his mom looking out the window. Next panel, his mom running out to get the stuffed Hobbes with the umbrella. And then the last 2 scenes, one is Calvin at the school, and he's sitting there pouting, looking at the clock, waiting for him when he can come back home. And the last panel is Hobbes sitting by the window waiting for his best friend to come back.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And there's so many other brilliant comic strips in there, but this is a brilliant series. Anyone who has not read Calvin and Hobbes, please do so.
It's the best.
Especially if you're older and you grew up in the 80s, 90s and stuff, because it hits on all the points because you remember doing some of this stuff.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I think I agree with that 100%. I even think it's more than that. I think it's even more universal than that. I think Watterson wrote him for the child and everybody at any age.
I agree, yeah.
And so like you could go back to any of our childhoods and remember that,
Some instance, yeah.
Yeah, because that magic and that wonder of being a child knows no boundaries. So it could be, no matter how old you are.
And he portrayed it so brilliantly.
Yeah, he did.
So brilliantly. Okay, well, folks, we're not going to be talking about sweet, lovable, adorable children and their stuffed animals. We are talking about villains.
Oh.
And not only that, but our top 5 villains.
Well.
Which Mikey, by the way, had an extremely hard time coming up with his top 5.
I did, man. This was really hard because villains are so much more interesting than heroes. And so, right whenever you said top 5, I thought of 13. So, I have a lot kind of to sift through.
And we're going by someone that a bad guy we absolutely despised.
Yeah, I think
watching in the movie.
We're going to do kind of the same thing that we always do, but we'll go ahead and throw this out here. At least for me, I think Matt's probably a little bit more cohesive. Probably blur the lines a little bit, but mine isn't necessarily who I think is quote unquote the best bad guys in movie history, whereas maybe either the best actor or the best portrayal, yada, yada, yada. Because I have probably a separate list for that. Mine are simply my favorite villains of all time.
That's what I thought we were doing.
The ones that I hate.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
The ones that I hate, the ones that make me cringe, the ones that I remember the most. So, yeah.
You know what? Let's see. I'll go first.
Well, let's talk. You want to talk about a villain first? I think we should just talk about a villain.
I'm going to talk about a villain right now. I'm going to talk about number 5.
Well, just real quick, what makes a good villain?
All right, what makes a good villain
then?
There's
a round table discussion. CJ, what do you think that makes a good villain?
The reason villains are so much more interesting is because they have a deeper story. The hero is that you have a quick origin story, but it's just, I have these abilities, now I can save. Obviously, that's talking about superheroes in particular, but I have these abilities, I have to save the day. It's pretty two-dimensional, this, that. But then you have all these other complicated venues that a bad guy can take. They're trying to see the demise of not only this hero, but everything this hero stands for. Why does he not like this hero? What is driving the villain? Is it some past experience? The villain is always 9.5 times out of 10 more interesting than the hero. And I think what makes a good villain is a good backstory. And maybe some good Hollywood makeup.
I agree. Do you agree with that, man?
Yeah, no, I agree with that totally.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that bad guys are more interesting, You can have strong bad guys, weak bad guys. You can have...
Now, the flip side of that to me is you can have a villain who doesn't have much of a backstory, sort of like kind of a vague backstory, but is still just such an evil presence that it makes you cringe. And that's the other side of it. And that's one of my top 5 is sort of like that.
Speaking of top 5s, Matt, if you're going to start. All right, I'm ready.
Are you ready? Number 5.
Mr. Rogers.
Francis.
Yes, from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
And you got it without me having to say it.
One of my favorite movies ever. Are you kidding me? He's great. Yes.
You'll be sorry, Pee-wee Herman.
Shh. I'm listening to reason. I don't make monkeys. I just train them.
The master's taking a bath. Oh, really? Where are they hosing him down? I just...
My father says everything's for sale. Well, good for you and your father, Francis. Yeah, man, Francis is great.
Francis is fantastic. I don't know the name of the actor, but he is unbelievable in that role. He plays he's supposed to be a grown-up child, and you buy it.
Yeah.
He's not faking it. You don't even think anything's wrong. You really can see him and Pee Wee Herman as children bickering.
Yes,
but they're grown adults. That's brilliant. He was always, he's I get whatever I want and meh, 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 meh. And you just hated him because he did get whatever he wanted,
Based on that,
he had a swimming pool as a bathtub. I wanted that as a kid.
Yes.
The fact
I
that you
hated
the
Francis.
fact that you put Francis on your villain list, I'm now expecting your next list to either be the hecklers from the Muppets, or Uncle Ben from Problem Child. I mean, not Uncle Ben, a Big Ben Healy from Problem Child.
Yeah, dude, that's a good villain. He is.
Okay.
That's what I'm expecting now.
Okay,
Ben Healy.
but Francis, Mayor McCheese, take it away.
Okay, my number 5 is going to be Predator.
Oh yeah, the Predator's really
And that
good.
look, and that mainly becomes like I was a kid when Predator came out, and he scared the ever living bejesus out of me.
Yeah, especially with that.
Yeah, and
Whatever that sound
that,
is, that
I can't do it. Whatever. But when Arnold took his face off, his mask off, and you saw his like ugly, hideous face, it's just oh my god.
Yeah.
You are one of them.
Nasty.
Yeah.
And that to me is the quote of the movie. Get to the chopper, of course.
I have a top 5, but I need real quick to say 3 honorable mentions, which were basically 6, 7, and 8. I just have to.
All right, go.
Because this was so hard for me. All
Go.
right. Number 8 would be the Warden from Shawshank Redemption,
Yeah.
because I just loathe him. Number 7 would be Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a good one.
Because, man, like, whenever he doesn't...
He's an SOB, man.
Yeah, when he does not tell Jimmy Stewart's uncle that he found the $8,000, like, you just want to... And they had this wonderful skit on Saturday Night Live back in, like, the early 90s with Dana Carvey, where Dana Carvey... It was called, like, the deleted, like, the never-before-seen alternate ending to It's a Wonderful Life. So they had Dana Carvey playing the Jimmy Stewart character, and John Lovitz playing Mr. Potter. And
Oh my god!
And so after like the brother comes in and gives them the money or whatever, they like, hey, we figured out who. Because in the movie, like it's never told at all.
No, it doesn't say anything.
It's never known publicly that Mr. Potter knew anything about it. So like he gets away with it. And so right, so in this skit they. They say the alternate ending, so they come in and they find out that it's him, and they all go and they beat him up with like baseball bats, and like they throw him up against the wall, and like Dana Carvey's like kicking him and stuff, and it's just really hilarious.
That's how you feel when you watch it, though.
No, yeah, he's just awful. Like he's just awful. And then number 6, which really could have been a top 5, it would probably be a top 5 on my best villains list. Is so number 6 would be Hannibal Lecter, specifically Anthony Hopkins from Silence of the Lambs, because it's just sinister. He's genius, and that's the type of scary that I like. So anyway, my number 5 is going to be Biff Tannen from Back to the Future.
Good one. Butthead.
Because think about the work that this guy
Smooth
did.
move, McFly.
Yeah, like I just hate this guy. Like, and he does such a good job in all the different variations of Biff. Every variation of Biff, from the 1985 to the 55 to the 1885 to the 2015 to the alternate universe. Like he attacks this character in so many different ways, and every time you hate him.
Yes.
And it's a different type of hate. Like it's it's a fun adventure movie type of hate, but he's done so well and written so well that you just you don't like. He doesn't have a redeeming quality. Like even though he's not going around killing people, you don't want him to succeed at all. You never feel bad for him. You never
such
are
a dick.
you never are endeared to him. Like you just hate Biff Tannen.
Favorite Biff quote?
My favorite, gosh, I don't know. Probably like manure. I hate manure.
I don't know. That's a good one.
That's one of my favorites, just because of the look on his face.
Hello, McFly. I just like the knock. I like the knock. Hello, McFly.
My brother and I used to go, "What are you looking at, butthead?"
That was our favorite. Red Dog Tannen.
What are you looking at, butthead?
Yeah. I just like that. I mean, those movies are just so much fun. That's a great villain to me.
Okay. All right. So number 4.
Number 4.
Top Dog.
Top Dog.
From The Crow.
Oh, okay.
The Crow.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right.
I thought
I
he
haven't seen
was
that in years.
evil.
He was.
He was
Yeah, I
evil,
didn't like him.
and the thing is, he got the upper hand on the Crow by shooting the bird.
Yeah.
Bang bang,
Yeah.
blank, I'm dead.
You know what's funny? I haven't watched that movie probably in 15 years. I watched it a good bit whenever we were teenagers growing up. It was kind of a big deal back then. I haven't watched it in a while, but I do. Like, even though it's been that long, once you say... I didn't remember the name, but once you said The Crow, I was like, yeah, I remember him. I remember how sneaky he was with his long kind of slimy looking hair and just the way he talked. And I love it. There's like one big, like really good boardroom scene where he's like, kind of trying to tell all the other bosses, And
Seems like Happy Boy came down with a slight case of death.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the way he looks, the way he talks, and the way that because the Crow was killing everyone. I mean, just slaughtering. No one could stop him. And then when you get Top Dog, yes, finally. But then Top Dog gets the upper hand by shooting the Crow and then starts beating him to a pulp. I was like, no. I mean, it just made me hate him more at that point. And I still, to this day, think that was one of my favorite. When you say villain, he was the first one that I thought about for my list.
Really?
I'll just tell you that. He was the first one I thought about for the list. And then I had to make up the list. But, yeah, when I think villain, I think Top Dog.
That's good.
Mayor McCheese.
All right. My number 4 is going to be Pinhead. And I know you are talking about like horror movies, but these are just my favorite ones that gave me the creeps.
Yeah, man, he's still creepy.
I mean, the puzzle cube and just seeing Pinhead and all the torture in the movies and all that. It just and he had such a calm about him most of the time. It's just when you see him, that was your fear. That was it. You're
So
done.
as a kid, if you were in your bed and suddenly the room went blue and smoke started shooting out underneath the door, and then he opened up, with a big spotlight behind him and going, CJ,
yeah.
You would have died?
Well, we'd be going to Walmart for some new underwear for sure.
Yeah.
My mom and dad, they used to do that stuff. I remember when I was like 4, they chased me around the house with vampire teeth.
What? Yes.
Yeah.
Traumatizing.
Another confession from his childhood.
We're going to put that back in the lockbox.
Yeah. Put that back in the cube.
It was Halloween and they got those ridiculous gum vampire teeth. And when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh, Mom, what happened? They got the vampires!"
Oh my goodness!
Scary.
Yeah, it's creepy. I agree. Like I love those horror movies from that time and era, but I still have problems watching any of the Hellraisers.
Man.
They're just gross.
Creepy. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mikey, numero 4.
My number 4 is Emperor Commodus from Gladiator.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow. No, he is a very good villain.
Joaquin Phoenix's character.
Yeah.
He is a very good
It's
villain.
really good.
And like I loathe him. Like the other 3, whenever you see my other 3, they're just Mikey to a T. But this guy, so that's the reason I had to put them above Commodus. But Commodus to me is one of the very best bad guys. Like I would put him on my best list as well as my favorites because of the way he is. Because he's slimy, he's sneaky, he's weak, he's sinister. He doesn't strike fear into anybody. He just uses his power to get other people to do it. And that's even creepier to me, like because by the time you get to the end, like you want him to die so bad, and just that whole "Am I not merciful?" scene, like he's trying his best to be Maximus. He just can't be that. He will never be that.
And he's a character who doesn't have to say anything. Just the way he looks, you automatically want to hate him.
Yes.
He doesn't even have to say anything.
He's the grown-up version of King Joffrey from Game of Thrones. He's
Because
just like this
I think it's safe to say that when you see the movie Gladiator and you see him at the very point, you already know he's the bad guy.
Yeah, that's
you already know. But just
point.
just based off his presence alone and just how he carries himself, he doesn't have to say any words, and you just automatically hate that.
And
guy.
that's a good point. Which you guys talked about this. That's as far as what makes a good villain. It is presence. It is. You have to. It has to invoke something in you to make you hate this person. It can't just be a bad guy. It can't be. It's got to be a. Ooh, I hope they get it.
Yeah.
No.
And he's just the worst. He's just oh. Every time I watch that movie, I'm like, no. But it's a testament to Joaquin Phoenix. Like I think Joaquin Phoenix is a very underrated actor.
I think so too.
And I think he's phenomenal. And just the way he took that character and made it, and what's the word I'm looking for? Like he didn't overdo it. He underplayed it and he undersold it, and that's what worked for me.
I agree. All right.
Number 3.
But I have a number 3 that's going to beat that.
Okay, I'm ready.
Khan!
Well, how can you not hate Khan?
And that's the one that I think
Ricardo Montalban.
people are going to have on their other one. He is phenomenal.
Yeah, he is.
And I mean, he is the ultimate smart, intellectual villain who just the way he carries himself, the way he is triumphant. He is the mastermind. Even when things don't go according to plan, it's always like he had a backup plan. And then you really believe he had a backup plan and he is unstoppable and you're afraid he's going to win.
Yeah. I want, like, now the Star Trek movies were successful anyway. So
right.
This kind of is notwithstanding, but like I wonder like how much more successful they would have been if he could have been a reoccurring villain. Like if they could have carried him over to 3 and 4.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. You could have, I think. That's a good point. You could have brought him into 3, maybe 4, made him a big story arc character, which would have been good. I wouldn't have been opposed to that. But when you try to redo that movie, Into Darkness, it is a pathetic sham of a movie.
I disagree with that.
When you're trying to.
Let me ask you this though: What did you think of the what's his name, Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yeah.
What did you think of his performance as Khan?
I hated it.
I
hated everything about that movie.
Okay.
It totally. It's like it was giving the raspberry to Star Trek 2 is what it was to me.
Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's what it felt like.
Benedict.
It was awful. It was
I
an
can
insultful
see how you
movie.
would think that, especially at the end.
Especially at the toward the middle too.
Yeah.
I mean, it started toward the middle.
I like separated it from the original. Like it's not as good as the original. I just kind of
let me tell you something about.
It's the worst out of all of the films.
Something,
I would say.
Say something about Star Trek.
I know. I'm even putting 5 over that.
In Into Darkness, it stinks to me. Like, it's a good movie, but it stinks physically. Let me tell you why.
Like, you were sitting in the theater and, like, you smelt it?
It wasn't it. I went to an AMC. You familiar with those are? You go in, they give you food. And the people all around were eating the most fried, awful food. And I'm trapped in a big theater room with these people just...
Did you watch it at a county fair?
I'm telling you, it's like everybody was eating just, like, the heaviest cheeseburgers, the most, like, deep-fried stuff, and they're just, like... blowing the roof off of this theater. So every time I think about Star Trek Into Darkness, I just get this sulfuric, farty smell, and I'm just like, no.
Wow, that's wild.
Like, so my friend Rusty, he lives in Austin, and he always goes to the Alamo Draft House, and that's a place where you can get beer and drinks and food.
It's such a great idea.
It's a great idea, but like I agree. Like we saw,
damn it,
we saw the new X-Men this summer there, and it was packed. And so, like, I had, like, a strawberry milkshake or whatever, and it was really delicious. But the guy next to me was, munching on, like, a pizza, and I think he had some fries or whatever.
Oh, you know what's about to happen.
And, well, it wasn't the after effect smell. It was just the before smell. Like, whenever you have, like, that combination of all those different foods and all those different smells, like, in such a closed area. Like, it does. Like, and I remember that because it's, a fact that your smell will bring up memories quicker than anything else. So you say that, and I just remember that time, and I'm like, yeah.
Exactly. So anytime someone farts, I think about Star Trek Into Darkness.
Well, there you go. Hey, me too.
Yes.
All right, so
you like Khan?
I love me some Khan.
I do too.
Mayor McCheese.
Before I get into my
let us know what your number 3 is.
Before I get into number 3, I want an honorable mention real quick, and I almost put Tim Curry from Clue.
Well, yeah, that's good.
I'm not yelling!
Yeah.
Oh, I would have put him as Tim Curry as Home Alone 2. But
yeah.
That's a good one, too. And did you see Tim Curry from Freakazoid?
Tim Curry, period.
I know what you're doing. You think I have a clock in my head, don't you?
Just. You better hurry up and get to your number 3 so Matt will get that grimace off of his face.
Oh.
Stop being such a hamburglar of the podcast time.
Ruffle.
Okay. All right, now, my number 3 is going to be Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, you don't get any better than that. I mean, you do because he's number 3, so obviously. But
I'll be honest, he made the list and got bumped off when I started doing a search and found someone
That's
a little
what
bit
happened
better.
to me too.
I mean, Hannibal Lecter is just the quintessential, just cerebral. He's evil, but he feels nothing.
Yeah,
and it's great. He was.
If I was on my best list, he probably would be number 1, just as far as performance wise.
And you put a brilliant actor in that role, and it just makes it better. And that face mask and the straitjacket, oh man!
I'm glad someone put him on their top 5 list because he deserves to be on the top 5 list.
Does.
And just because I or Mikey don't have him on our top 5 list does not mean we don't think he's a great villain. We think he's a fantastic villain.
Yeah.
Now
but I just wanted to go with something just a little bit more original.
No, I agree, and that brings up a good point though. Like as far as like the subjectivity of these lists is that like when we think of these villains, you say Hannibal Lecter as a villain. I'm not thinking about Hannibal Lecter, the character, as a villain because he's been in a few movies and a couple of books and stuff like that. I'm specifically thinking of Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. So, like, Hannibal Lecter is probably a good villain overall, just in the lore of like story. But when I think of Hannibal Lecter, I think of that movie and that performance, and that's why I grade it so high.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, it's one of the most perfect movies ever made, I think.
Okay. But your number 3.
My number 3? I'll get you, my pretty.
Okay.
Oh,
and
wow.
your little dog, too.
Wow. The Witch from Wizard of Oz.
Wicked Witch of the West.
Wicked Witch of the West.
Yes, that's number 3, man.
I'll be honest, she brings something extra to that movie. In fact, all the actors did, which is the reason why that movie, in my opinion, has lasted so long.
Because it's awesome.
Because the acting was so strong.
It was strong. Even from like a 16, 17-year-old Dorothy Gale.
I mean, you can look at some of these movies that even I love in the 80s, and you're thinking, oh, that's awesome. But then you go back and say, how did they get a job? Their acting is flat.
Right.
It was okay for the time period back then. But Wizard of Oz, no, man. That's still just pristine acting there.
For the movie that they were trying to make, like they committed to those characters.
Yes, they did.
And they were. Like it's like when you see Dorothy, I mean Judy Garland is Dorothy. Scarecrow's the Scarecrow. Tin Man is the Tin Man. Like these people are iconic. And then the Wicked Witch of the West is poor Margaret Hamilton couldn't do anything after that really.
That's true.
Without I mean she had a great career, but I mean she was the Wicked Witch of the West. I mean
that makes a good villain too, a good one-liner.
Yeah, it's just classic. I mean, she is classic as can be, and that's one of my very favorite movies.
How about a little fire, Scarecrow?
Little fire scarecrow.
What, does she sound like the penguin now? No, that's fantastic.
I love it. I mean, it was the very first DVD I ever bought when I got a DVD player, and that's one of my favorite movies.
But there is a villain that I think I have better than the Wicked Witch of the West.
Okay, and this would be your number 2, right?
This is number 2.
Okay.
Aaron Eckhart. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Are you going to say Two-Face?
No, actually, I'm not.
Say.
I'm going to say Chad in the Company of Men.
Yes.
Have you seen this movie?
I have.
Have you seen this movie?
Is that the one with Ben Affleck?
No, I don't think it has Ben Affleck, does it? I don't think it does.
In this one.
It is. He is overly evil. I mean, he's just an evil person who is just, all sadistic mean.
Oh, yeah?
Without killing anyone, just insulting, degrading to women. I mean, I remember renting this at Blockbuster years and years ago.
Oh, it's an old
and the
movie.
guy before he checked me out, he went, "You're not going to go see this. You're not seeing this with your girlfriend tonight, are you?" I said, "No." He went, "Okay, don't." And I was like, well, what's in it, And then I found out why. I mean, he has zero respect for women.
Oh, wow.
And he just utterly he takes pleasure in destroying their lives.
Dang, that's awesome. I kind of want to see that now.
I mean, seriously, it is but I was like, when he gave me that warning, I was like, I'm even more excited to watch. I didn't have anything to rent that night. I was just trying to rent something I thought would be good. When he gave me that recommendation, I was like, okay, let's see what we got. And he is evil in that movie. And this is one that when I did a search, it popped up on someone's top 10. I went, oh, that's right. I had totally forgotten about him.
That movie was back in the 90s, wasn't it?
That was early 90s, I want to say, too.
Because I remember seeing it, but I was about maybe 11 or 12.
So you saw it?
It needs another watch, though. But I remember
it does.
Aaron Eckhart.
He is just mean.
He's just despicable.
Cold-hearted. Mayor McCheese.
Yes, my number 2. My number 2 is, actually, and we just talked about Agent Smith.
Oh, yeah.
Just from The Matrix, though. Just from The Matrix.
You know what? Agent Smith is a great one. I think that's your best one yet.
He is.
Mayor McCheese. I would vote for you.
Wait.
Standing on that platform. Because
not Hannibal?
Well, no, Hannibal's good. He's a good mention. I agree that he could put in there, but I did not think about, Mr. Anderson.
Well,
I
yeah,
didn't think
mean,
about
it's-
that
it's
as a
super-
villain.
It's super quotable.
when I was doing this
I mean,
list.
I think the reason I like Agent Smith so much is just because, he kind of, it's very... It kind of projects on the paranoia of the man in the black suit and the dark glasses. And, aside from him being a computer program that can destroy everyone,
No, you're
inside
right.
the Matrix. I think, when Neo's running from him and he's, being chased by the man in the black suit,
You can tell in his eyes and his face his snarl, he hates to lose.
he's committed. It's really great. And
Honestly, I would say him in all three movies, because even in 3, their fight scene at the end in the rain is just great. I mean, he's just letting his hate come out. I mean, he has risen to the ultimate villain in my mind in 3. That's one of the redeeming qualities of 3,
I would say
actually.
Agent Smith is what keeps the movies watchable.
I would agree with
After
that.
Matrix.
I would agree with
Yeah.
that.
He's consistent all the way through.
He really is. You can say that. He's absolutely consistent. And that's not a discredit to anyone else in the film, but, Neo's a pretty two-dimensional character. He's just, I'm here to save the world. Okay.
Well, I mean, he's
You
just
know,
playing the role of the
He's
basic
playing the role
hero.
of the basic hero.
But the villain
I do
does
this,
make it.
I defeat bad guy. I'm good guy. I defeat bad guy.
Hey, look at that. We found something good about, what's it called?
The Matrix.
Which one is it?
Reloaded.
Reloaded? No, it's not
Revolution.
Reloaded. We didn't even know what the name of the film is.
Rehashed, reheated.
Reheated?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a true story about that one. Is there was a thunderstorm going on. I went to go see that with my dad and my brother, and it knocked the power out. And they said, "Hey, we'll give you your money to go see it again because we didn't see it through the middle." I was like,
And
nah,
you didn't.
I didn't.
Yeah. You're like, here, take your ticket back.
I was like,
Yeah.
nah, I'll just go buy a Coke and a bag of chips. And then I'll go watch, whatever was out at the time. I did watch it later, but I wasn't going back to that.
Mikey?
That's
Who does number 2 work for?
that's right. You give that turd hell.
We're going to get through this now.
Dr. Evil would be a great one, but he's not on my list.
Who is your number 2?
My number 2, all I gotta say about number 2 is never underestimate the power of body language.
Wow.
Ursula from The Little Mermaid. Yeah, baby! Come on. All right. Little Mermaid is my favorite Disney movie of all time. That's widely known from all my friends.
I admit that in the past I've been a nasty. They weren't kidding when they called me, a witch.
Yeah. But man, she is the best Disney villain. She is incredible.
Do you know the missus would agree with you on that?
Oh my God.
Ursula is her
So am I.
ultimate villain.
Yeah, because she does. Because everything that she does is just for her own power and her own glory. Stealing poor Ariel's voice, and then trying to steal Prince Eric, and then at the end, whenever everybody figures everything out, she turns into that big, huge monster. And King Triton, he's the only one that can save her. Although she gets stabbed in the stomach by a boat. Love it, love it.
But in these coming days, I've mended all my ways, repented, seen the light, and made a switch. 2 years. Good. All right. Well, now we're getting to number 1.
Number one.
Are you ready?
I don't know, man.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. I cheated.
How did you cheat?
Wait, how do you cheat picking your favorite?
Because I'm going to cheat. I'm going to tell you how I'm going to cheat. Because the number 1 villain of all time, Tim Roth.
From what? From Reservoir Dogs?
You pick it.
Really?
Just in general?
Tim Roth. I'm
That's
talking
not a character.
I know. That's why I cheated. But look,
Wait, he
Planet
was
of the
Mr. he
Apes,
was Mr. Blonde in
The
Reservoir Dogs,
Musketeer.
right?
He was
Yeah.
tons of bad guys. I mean, Rob Roy. If you want me to pick like the ultimate in any movie, I know. This is way cheating. But I was gonna put Tim Roth as 3 of my top 5 for a minute, and then I just realized
You said no.
And then I moved him up to number 1 because he is the
okay.
ultimate. If I had to pick one movie, it would be Rob Roy with Liam Neeson. Have you seen this movie? It came out the same time as Braveheart. It got ignored because Braveheart did well. Rob Roy was almost the same kind of type of story. Liam Neeson plays a Scotsman and everything. But it is
sounds familiar,
fantastic.
but I haven't seen
Tim Roth is the most wicked, despicable character. He's everything rolled into one. He's the spoiled brat. He's the cocky SOB. I mean, he is everything rolled into one. And he cheats to win, and when he dies...
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Can't
Well, I mean, it's the
now. I'm
villain.
not going to watch it now. Thank you. Thanks, man.
That's fine.
Thanks.
That's fine. But
Thanks.
you are happy. I mean, you are happy that he got it. You wish he had.
Yeah.
They could kill him
that
again.
reminds me of?
It is
Who
fantastic.
almost made my list, but didn't. You ever seen The Patriot? Jason
Yeah.
Isaacs' character in The
No,
Patriot.
he's
don't
great.
remember anything
Yeah,
from
no,
that.
he's great.
Like it just reminds me of that. You know, it burns that church full
You
of all
will
the children and women.
guaranteed
Yeah.
hate this. And Tim Roth in anything. Actually, he's just such a good bad guy. I'm sorry I cheated.
That's okay.
Mayor McCheese,
Okay, number 1 is Vader.
of course.
He's my favorite.
Yeah.
He's
Of
the
course.
best. He has the best story of all villains.
Yeah.
He's the most developed evil villain of all time.
He gets number 1 on a lot of magazines and a lot
Yeah,
of
and no
online
one just,
things.
Vader, that's default. No, screw you. I love Vader.
You know, right before
He's
you
my
got
number
here,
one.
we had that exact same discussion. Me and Matt were like, you know what? Like, we're just going to throw Vader out the window because, you know, he's Darth
Well,
Vader. And,
But I mean,
Everyone
it's-
knows.
Yeah.
you know, like, he is. Like, he's one of the best
He's
villains
the
of all
best.
time, so we're just kind of throwing him out. And again, I think Heath Ledger's Joker has also come up to that plateau of, like, you know what? Like, it's just so well done that it's not even worth talking about anymore.
And then
Well-
your sesame-seated bunhead came in here
I
and then started
almost-
talking about Darth Vader.
I almost put Joker, but not Heath Ledger. We're talking about movie villains. So
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Did we didn't say the same bad guys, did
Well,
we?
I said Hannibal Lecter as
But
just
that was
one
on a
honorable
different
mention.
list.
Well, that was honorable
Yeah,
mention,
so our
though.
top fives are 15 different people.
All right, go.
Come on. All right. There's only one bad guy. There's only one person that deserves to be number 1 on everybody's list.
I already
Because
said
he's-
Tim Roth.
Because he's number 1 in everybody's heart. If you're a dude. Hans Gruber. Come on.
From Die Hard.
From Die Hard. Yes, Alan Rickman.
I love
forgot
Hans
about- I
Gruber.
forgot
No,
about Die
Hans
Hard.
Gruber is the best bad guy.
Ho, ho, ho. Oh, wait, now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Yes.
Mrs. McLean.
Yes. I love it.
Oh, he's a great bad
It's just
guy.
incredible. Like you don't necessarily hate him. Like, I don't hate him like I hate, like, Emperor Commodus or whatever. Like, I actually love him. But that's a different side of villains. Whenever, like, you watch him and you're like, man, like, he's just a cool villain. Like, the way he talks and just, I love that scene with, what's the dude's name? Elliot? Whenever, you know, they're talking in there and he's talking about,
Now, Elliot is actually a good villain.
Yeah, he is a good villaon. He's sneaky.
Hans, baby.
Yeah.
Booby.
Yeah.
Booby.
Hey.
I'm surprised no one put Ivan Drago on their list.
Oh, now I like Ivan Drago. Yeah, he's awesome.
He's great too. Well, let's be honest.
There's a
We
lot.
could do.
There's a lot.
We could scrap all of our top fives and come up with
do it
new
again,
ones that
yeah.
we did
Oh,
not touch the
absolutely.
first time around, and still be happy with those picks.
Yeah, so like Jaws, like the shark. Like, I wanted to put the shark on there. Like, but like the villain of that movie isn't necessarily shark as much as it is the music in my
But
opinion.
when you look into his eyes,
his eye,
he is a
That's the only
villain.
one at one
But
time.
do you
That's
guys?
right.
But do you guys remember the villain in No Country for Old Men?
Yeah,
You know what?
John
He
Sugar.
was
It's
was
okay.
on the list, and he would have
Heck
gotten
yeah,
he
man.
would have gotten an honorable mention from me because
Holy crow.
he would have been about 7
incredible.
on the list. I
What's
think for
the
me.
actor's name? Javier.
Oh, Bardem.
Yeah.
No, he's great. He's great.
Oh, that movie.
I was thinking of also Kathy Bates' character in Misery.
I thought about that too. Yeah.
Annie Wilkes.
No, yeah.
Like, she's crazy.
There are just
Nurse
tons of
Ratched.
good. Oh yeah, there are tons of good villains out there.
They're everywhere.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to challenge the audience to go ahead and give us their top 5
I would
villains
like that.
as well,
That'd be
and
cool.
we would like to comment on it and see in the next couple of weeks. So go ahead, put your top 5 on there, and we would love to see who your top 5 is. Okay, Mayor McCheese, would you like to add a question?
Well, yeah. I just want to know if anyone out there is reading Attack on Titan manga,
Okay.
because I really want to talk about it. I have one friend of mine who's reading it, and my wife is scared of cannibals, so she won't read it with me.
As well, she should be.
And she should be. That's a valid, not just cannibals, but giant cannibals. Attack on Titan, gentlemen, if you will give me just a second, preys on every single fear, every innate fear you have as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
And if you give it an anime watch or you read the manga strips, just anybody reading it, I'd love to talk about it. So leave it in the comments.
Okay, Mayor McCheese is starving for some anime affection, folks. So try to give him some love in the comments. Folks, that is all the time we have for today.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Are we done?
We're done.
Is Saturday morning almost over?
Saturday morning is edging to an end here.
You still got 30 minutes to go get your Egg McMuffins. So say Mayor McCheese.
Folks, have a good one. We will see you next week on
Saturday morning, Samoflange. Bye!
Brought to you by Mark Addison Appraisal.
Oh yeah, Mark Addison Appraisals. Corner to corner, wall to wall, he does it all.
Looking for a house for your spouse? Call Mark Addison.